Assalamualaikum and welcome back to my video presentation on problem-based learning. For over 15 years and counting, I have been practicing PBL as my main teaching and learning approach. Along the way, I never stopped learning new things that came across my learning journey, whether the good or the bad. It was from this PBL experience that inspires me to embrace the lifelong learning journey. I was first introduced to PBL back in early 2005 by a group of PBL experts from a UNESCO chair for problem-based learning at Aalborg University, Denmark. The first PBL model that I learned is a problem and project-based learning, the Aalborg PBL model. And since then, PBL had been my teaching and learning approach in almost all courses I taught at the university, as well as the training sessions I conducted for teachers and lecturers. In the beginning, I began to experiment with my own version of PBL by dividing my class delivery into two parts. The first hour is for me to deliver my full lecture, and the second and third hours for students working in group to discuss and brainstorm the problems I have presented at the end of the lecture. And not long after that, I realized that I am still using the traditional lecture and content base, not a proper PBL approach. The problem I have presented is the end of lecture problem, not an authentic problem based on a real world scenario. And learning from the mistakes, I changed my classroom learning to fully PBL approach. For the first time, my class got messy and I found myself stuck with many issues and problems, including complaints from the management, colleagues and students. I could not identify where the students would be going and ending up after being presented with the problem scenario and learning trigger. I got confused and certainly things got more serious for my students. And fortunately, all these problems did not easily demotivate me from continuing with my PBL experimentation. From each problem, I learn new things and keep improving my PBL implementation. After 4 semesters, I managed to get into my feet. My skills in implementing PBL improved, and the majority of my students were getting used to my teaching styles and PBL approach. The first accomplishment of my PBL came in late 2006 when my PBL exploration scored a landmark achievement in organizing a project-based or project organized problem-based learning POPBL. Two classes under my supervision managed to implement a PBL in their project-based learning to assist flood victims in Johor. The project reports were compiled and published in a book under the title PBL untuk Pembangunan Komuniti Lestari or PBL for Sustainable Community Development, published by UTHM Publisher in 2008. The success, however, is not because I am good at designing and managing the PBL process from the beginning to the end. Instead, it came out of the good luck and the hard work of my students. Johor was badly hit by the 2006 and 2007 floods. My university, UTHM, and the surrounding area of Parit Raja, Batu Pahat, Johor was also not spared from the floods. I was teaching social development compulsory course to master students, a full coursework subject, no final exam and no facts-based tests. And facing this fateful event triggered me to let the students experience the learning in the most authentic way. After our first meeting, students were forming their own group of learning between 5 to 7 members in a group. Our first task is to visit the flood victims' evacuation centers in the surrounding area. And working in groups, students conducted the interview sessions on the flood victims, compile the report and present in the class. The problems presented in the reports were extremely authentic and based on the real-world problems and setting. It was from these problems that triggered their next learning adventures, and they then embarked on the inquiry process to identify the facts in the problems, generate ideas on the facts, and propose the learning issues. Later, each group member embarked on self-directed learning to learn more about the learning issues regarding the plight of the flood victims. They then returned to the group and shared the result of individual self-directed learning. Each group then brainstormed the issues and problems faced by the flood victims and proposed a project to help them. A series of meetings were conducted to discuss further action on project implementation and management. And they finally managed to organize their project and successfully help the flood victims to ease their predicament. Having completed the project, they prepared and present the reports in the final presentation session. And based on the report and presentation, I managed to identify the intended learning outcomes accomplished as well as other related learning achievements. In their learning reflections, students had also described the success of the learning not only in exceeding the intended learning outcomes, but also developing many of their learning and essential skills. Generally, students were impressed upon the experiential learning opportunity opened up for them. And one of the groups had even concluded their presentation with a strong note: experience is not only a good teacher, but the only teacher. The reason I am sharing this story is not to show what I and my students have accomplished in the past by using PBL. Instead, to share my insight on how the experience had taught me one important lesson: to value the real world problems happening around us. It was the best problem scenario that we could get to present to students and let them learn through authentically. This kind of problem is always in front of us if only we can see it through. But to bring this problem to our classroom is not as easy as it seems. I was fortunate because the problem came by at the right time and at the right place. I was also very fortunate because I don't have to redesign the problem by myself. Instead, working together with my students, we redesigned the real world problem into an authentic PBL problem. The problem had also successfully promoted the free inquiry and the mastery of the content as well as the essential skills. The process of designing problems for PBL is certainly one of the most challenging tasks for PBL practitioners. Many among us who are new to PBL will certainly experience difficulties to design an authentic PBL problem that represents a real-world experience in setting. I was also faced with this situation and ended up by designing a fictional rather than an authentic problem. However, this experience taught me to learn more from PBL experts and the literature on the guiding principles of designing PBL problems. Authentic real-world problems, according to Barrows and Linda, 2007, are central to the PBL process as they stimulate learners to determine what it is they need to learn and provide both an anchor and an organizer for learning. In the next video presentation, I will be sharing some of the guiding principles in designing PBL problems to meet the main requirement of authentic real-world problems and drive students' learning through the free inquiry process, self-directed learning, and reflective learning. Thank you very much for your time and kind attention to my presentation. Viewers who are new here, please subscribe to my channel so you will get more notifications on my upcoming video presentation. And don't forget to like and share this video. And if you have something to share, please leave the comment below. Have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.